This is the fun part. This is the part I live for. I really live for this. Talent search. So how do you find people who aren't looking? Well, the first thing you do is you do some research, and this is what we use for research. And there's all kinds of places you can go to find skill sets, right? Well, how do you find the actual people that have the skills that can do what you want to do? Because sometimes you can get that on LinkedIn and some other places, and sometimes you just can't.
Okay,
there's all kinds of...
I'm just going to interject. David keeps saying people that aren't looking. He means people, you'll find some people that are not actively looking for a job, but you'll also find people when you're going to call them or approach them that have it on the back burner. They're employed, they're happy where they are, but they are looking for different opportunities. So don't screen those people out.
No, don't screen anybody out. I mean, people, and I think Rayanne and Jim are going to talk about this afternoon. We talk about active candidates and passive candidates in North America. No. Forget about active, forget about passive. They're all just prospects. They're just prospects. They're not candidates, they're just prospects. It doesn't matter whether someone's employed or unemployed. If they've got the skill set, the circumstances may be irrelevant as to why you have that window in time to approach them and recruit them. So this is what we do. We go to social media. Now, we use Zoom Info a lot, but you don't get a lot of information off Zoom Info. You only get what the candidates want you to get off LinkedIn. So when we want to really understand who somebody is, their real personality, what gets them excited, we go and check out their social media, because almost everybody has either been talked about on social media or they've been in the press. So we go and read that information ahead of actually talking to these people.
By doing that also, this gives you a chance to get to know the person in another way. And when it comes down to negotiating, if you select this candidate, then you have a lot more knowledge about them and what their wants are, what their needs are, what their habits are, what they like to do, and it really helps in the relationship building during the process.
And it can help you close a deal. I'm going to put the screen in a second. About 15 years ago, I needed to recruit a CEO out of a company, and he just kept saying no. I finally got him out for the interview or the business meeting, and he even came back and said no after that, and they really, really wanted him. And I leaned into the phone that morning, and I said, your son Hugh would have a better chance of making the NHL, hockey, would have a better chance of being picked up and making the NHL if you were living in a city like Chicago instead of Ottawa at the time. All of a sudden, money didn't matter. It was irrelevant, because I appealed to something that was of more relevance to him than the actual cash. He took the job.
Now
and moved to Chicago.
Notice David said after he had contacted him several times, because he doesn't want to appear like a stalker now either. You don't want that come across.
Okay, we're not going to talk about those stories. Okay, how do we do this? Well, we're going to talk about, we've done the research, and let's say, a recent example. We're hiring a VP of marketing in Ottawa, where we actually live, and it's very unusual for us to actually do something in our own town. But we're hiring a VP of marketing for this company. We've found 151 individuals in Ottawa and the area, and their sub-office in Dallas. There's 151 people. We did all the research, our researchers do the research, we did all the research and we brought it down to 12. Of the 12, we called 7. That's important. So of those 12, none of them had resumes, none of them were looking. I called the 7 people. And the first phone call happens like this. And the reason we do it on the phone is because we're not biased. I don't know what you look like. I don't know how old you are, how tall you are. You could be even taller than me, for example. I don't care what nationality you are, none of it. Completely unbiased. I'm just interested in your skill set and how you think. So I pick up the phone and I say, hi, you don't know me, but, I was reading about your new invention and I wanted to have a quick conversation with you. Is this a bad time? And I say, is this a bad time? Not is this a good time? Is this a bad time? Because most people say, is this a good time? And people say, no. So I say, is this a bad time? People say, no. Oh, good. It's a little thing, right? And they laugh just like that because I got them. And I said, listen, I'm working on this project, and I want to give you a little bit more information. And they'll say, well, can you tell me about it? And I go, no. No, I'm horrible on the phone. I would never do it justice, but I can send you a position profile. Oh, what's that? Well, it's a document, it's 3 to 5 pages. It'll take you about 5 minutes. When you've got quiet time, you can sit down and read this, and then you can say to yourself, yeah, this guy's right, or oh my God, is this guy crazy? And you can make your own decision. That's all I want to do, so give me your email address. So they give me their email address. I say, thank you very much. I'll call back in a couple of days, and I hang up, and I send them this document. Then what happens? Well, I call back, right? I'm a stalker. On the second call, I phone back and I say, so what did you think? Oh, I really like this. This is really sounds good. Oh, well, tell me why you say that. And I take a lot of notes. And they said, do you want to have an interview? I go, no. No, what I want to do is, we don't know each other. So I'm going to send you a confidential candidate brief. Because you probably don't have a resume either. Because I know that, it's about as fun as pulling teeth, putting together a resume. So I don't want you to go to that trouble. It's going to take you days, weeks, maybe months before you get back to me. I'm going to send you this document. It's a Word document, the confidential candidate brief. You're going to read it, and you answer like 10 questions. There's 24, but there's 10 of them that really matter. Just answer the 10 questions and fire it back to me. Okay. So away it goes. And they send it back to me. And after they send it back to me, I call them up, and I say, I've read it now, right? So I now know that not only are they qualified for the job, but they're interested. Because some people that are interested would only put down a line or two. I always tell people it's going to take about 15 or 20 minutes to do this. I don't know how much time some people spend, but it's a lot more. I've gotten these documents back where they're 12 pages, like Nick's. And then I say, I only want to ask you one question. Can you roll me back to when you're getting out of college and university and take me through your life? Most recruiters don't do that. They want to ask you specific technical questions. Take me through your life. And we just sit and we listen. And when they're finished, if we think that they have strong leadership skills, and we can tell by the way they answer the questions and talk about why they moved from one organization to another, then we ask them, want to have a conversation? And they say, sure. When we're going to do that? I said, I'm going to tell you shortly. Romania's got talent, right?
Right. So at this point, you have the interest of the candidate, and they're enthusiastic because they've read the documentation with it, and they know it's a serious opportunity that's coming down the pipe. So with this, they audition. They end up being auditioning for us as opposed to us always going after them and them trying to interview them. So it kind of turns the table and the dynamics, and it makes the process a lot easier because there's a lot of steps after this that they're going to go through, that they're going to be vetted through to be able to fill this position. And when Dave said before that he asked them to tell him about tell me about your life, tell me how after you finished school, what you did, this question comes back several times throughout the interviewing process. And the reason, he's going to mention it quickly as we go through the steps, but the reason we do this is we're looking for inconsistencies. A person that is being honest and open about their experience will always have the same story. And it won't change through time, it's always the same thing. So we're listening for these kind of cues throughout the entire interview process.
So it is auditioning. And there's no change in this. It's just like when Nadia Comaneci went to the Olympics. She didn't show up, in front of a bunch of coaches one day and say, hey, I can really swing on these bars. Send me to the Olympics. No, she had to audition and practice. So what's your output? Your output at the end of this step, or at stage 3 in these steps, is you have a list of prospects who are now candidates. They're tier 1 talent, and the prospects have become candidates. The hunted have become the hunters. They're now chasing us. It's a whole different ball game. Now you don't sit back, but you now get to have the luxury of assessing them.